Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kay, and today we have a special podcast because I'm turning things over to my mother, who's Michel Allen, the co-owner and founder of Allen Flavors. She was recently asked to speak. It's International Women's Day on March 8th, and she is the owner of a large flavor company based out in New Jersey, and they asked her to say some words to the women of the company, and we decided to collaborate the podcast today and let my mom kind of take the lead on this topic, being a business owner who's been a businesswoman for, what is it now, over 40 years or so. So anyway, Mom, welcome to the show. And
thank you.
Yeah, explain to everybody why you're here. And
well, first of all, I want to welcome all the women of Allen Flavors. And we're excited to speak to you for International Women's Day. So unfortunately, I'm going to be away and had plans already that I couldn't change. So I'm not able to be in person at Allen Flavors to meet many of you that I've never met. So Dana and I were talking about it, and we thought, well, instead of me just giving an introduction, welcoming you, it would be nice if we had a little discussion between the two of us because we're the only ones here in South Florida.
Yeah. And we were having this discussion in the kitchen the other day when you said to me they wanted you to say something. We were talking about a speech, and then we were having such a great conversation. And then we said, gosh, it would be great if the women just heard our conversation. Yeah. So we said, let's do a podcast and just talk about International Women's Day and what it means to us.
Hope we can get it going again. But
we will. We've got some good things to talk about.
So you were going to ask me some questions, Dana.
Yeah. Okay. So now you were in school back in the 70s. And so the company you started it's a flavor house. It's a flavor manufacturing company. You started it with my father back in 1992. But you went to school at University of Florida and you majored in food science. Mm-hmm. So do you want to just talk about that? Because obviously your company's filled with many women in many different departments, but you started actually at the bench as a scientist.
Right. All right. So let me tell you.
There you go.
Okay. So I went to the University of Florida and I was a pre-med student. And then because I didn't want to take a particular class, my roommate and I decided to go into the food science department. It had just opened. And we actually graduated I was actually one of 17 students in the first food science class at the University of Florida. So you could have gone into nutrition or product development. Of course, I didn't even know what that meant, but that's what I did because it was still science related. So I came out with that degree, and I went to Houston and worked for Riviana Foods in product development. And then I did other things, but I ended up at Thomas J. Lipton working on cup of soup and soups and meals. And that's how I started in the food industry.
Which is a good start. Now, Lipton is a household name.
Yeah. Now at Lipton is where I met Joey Allen. And, of course, we got married and had a family, and then at one point we together started Allen Flavors. So it goes from there.
So you were both in the industry.
Yes.
My father was in sales, flavor sales.
Yeah, and his father had been in flavor sales. Mm-hmm. And then me being a food scientist, it was a good match for Joey and I to start a company together.
Yeah.
So we did, and I think it's worked out rather well.
Yes, it certainly has. Now, okay, so making the transition for you from being a scientist at the bench and then to a business owner, that was a big jump.
First of all, okay, yeah, that's true. But I found it very exciting. I loved it. I mean, for me personally, I prefer to be in business than at the bench.
And you didn't even go to school for business.
No, I didn't. So, like you and I were talking about, like, is business for everybody? It's not for everybody.
No.
It's not for everybody to be an entrepreneur, to dedicate 24/7 to building a business.
We were just talking yesterday where I saw a funny thing on Instagram because I follow some, business pages and entrepreneur pages, and there was a thing that said like, oh yeah, I quit my 9 to 5, like being an entrepreneur. I finally quit my 9 to 5 to do a 24/7. Yeah. And it was like, where people think it's so glamorous being a business owner. But, let me tell you, being the daughter, I was 11 when you and Dad started Allen Flavors, and I got I will say, the pleasure of watching you guys, even though there's ups and downs in business. It's not, like always, but I got to see the real side of starting a business from scratch. And I got to learn a lot from you guys. And it's a 24/7 major sacrifice. And as a kid, I think I was pretty mature, so I understood like a lot of the sacrifices that you guys had to make. You didn't have the flexibility of the hours that maybe other parents had. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like you could do everything every parent did, because now it was like you had another baby to take care of. It was like this business really needed your attention. So that is the trade-off from coming to a job or owning a business. And, it's not for everybody, and that's okay, but what you started has paved the way.
And the other thing is, besides the time that you have to dedicate to it, it's having the ability to make good business decisions so that your business is successful.
Right.
Because when you start a business, there are so many areas that you do not know about, that you don't know. Whether it's the accounting end of it or the legal things or whatever it is, but you embrace those things as they come along, and you find people to help you and surround yourself by quality people.
Yep.
And you get it done. You learn, just like you've learned.
Oh, it takes a village.
Areas. It takes a lot. So it's like, even though Joey and I built a company, it took a lot of people to help us along the way. And now all of you to continue to be part of it and build it. You see how many people it takes to efficiently and effectively run Allen Flavors.
Yes.
And for that, I want to thank all of you women for all your contributions. It'll make me emotional, because I know everybody comes to work and they have their life, and, not only your life, what you're doing, but to take care of yourself, your family, and you're coming to work and you're putting in a lot of hours, a lot of time, caring about the business that you're doing for the company.
And taking pride in your job, and really caring.
I truly do appreciate that, and I've always appreciated everyone for what they do.
I truly believe, like what you said, I see it now in my business. Like what you said, I can't do it all. I'm not the MVP. It takes an entire village. It takes and there's nobody that's even more important than the next person. Everybody's job's important. Everybody's contribution is important. Everybody's skill that they're bringing to make the company successful is so important. So while it may have been your and Dad's vision as far as starting a company, going, taking the risk, but then who you bring on to help to build the company, that's as strong as you're going to be. The people that you have helping you, because like you said,
surround yourself by quality people.
Yes.
So, and then, look, I give the person who starts the company credit, because financially you're committing your money.
Big risk.
You're committing your time to do something. And then you take it as far as you can and you bring in other people.
Right.
And now, but at the same time, you're ultimately responsible. So that's where I say you have to make good business decisions, because you could either build a company with everybody's help, or you can run it into the ground and have no company.
Which has happened a billion times, lots of companies.
So, every company doesn't survive.
No. No, every company
So-
doesn't survive. Every
No.
company doesn't thrive. Some companies are smoke and mirrors where they look like they're doing great from the outside. And then
No, people spend too much money. They don't know when to, expand or when to, whatever it is.
yeah.
So, yeah, you have to do it in the right way.
And we also talk about, because I have discussions even with friends of mine who will say like, well, you learned a lot of your business stuff from your parents. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, some of it I did, some of it's like, is it like that nurture versus nature type of thing where I feel like some of the decisions I make, it's like, no, it's because of who I am and what I believe.
What you learned from your parents is you learned, when you make money, to save your money,
Yeah.
invest it into your business, build your business, don't take all the money out of it.
Yes.
You learn those kinds of things, and then you run your company
Right.
appropriately.
Right. Because a lot of times, like we just both said, neither of us went to school for business.
No.
Yet I grew up with both of you. Anytime I'd say like, what should I be when I grow up? I mean, I know it was always go into business. I mean, I know especially Dad would always say business. I'm like, what does business mean? Like, what do you mean go into business? But it's like, and with business, sometimes it's like either you have it or you don't. And like it's like you were born with this intuition of like making correct business decisions. And a lot of times it does. And I've had to learn the hard way where it's like, okay, to make a good business decision, you do have to like sit back and really think through all the variables and not just, a lot of times it's like something sounds good and then you want to like go for it. But no, sometimes you have to sit back and really think through. And I think that's, especially for my company now, it's why I've had longevity is because we've taken our time and it's been a slow grow. And then you guys, you've had so many successful products that you weren't even in charge of the pace that your company grew, because the more delicious products that you guys developed, that the better and the marketing that the brands did, once the ball was rolling and the companies are selling, it's like you guys had to keep up with the volume, so you didn't even get to pace it. You were growing according to what your demand was.
You're making business decisions.
Yes.
Now, do we hire more people? Do we get another building? Do we buy another truck? Do we lease the truck? You had to make these decisions because you still have cash flow. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Well, that's all about business, yeah.
That's about business. Let's talk about women, because that's what we're here to talk about.
Okay, yes.
So, women in business. First of all, going all the way back when I went into food science, women were not treated equally. When I got my job at, I'll say it, Riviana Foods, I made half of what my male counterpart made.
Oh, wow.
And I knew it, and I would talk to my boss about it, and they did not care.
So you were doing the same thing.
I had a degree. I was doing the same job.
Paid
I was
half.
doing a great job, and I got paid half of what the guy got paid.
Wow.
Okay. And anyway, and it continued like that. And then even when I worked construction, I worked for a construction company, and I was paid poorly. I wasn't paid the same as the men, and I did a way better job than they did.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I did. And so anyway, so let's talk about how, what I wanted to say is, how we feel about people at the company, like how important is it to us that the women be in a good environment?
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it actually wasn't what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say was that part about how I ran my life a certain way and I wanted to be treated in business.
Mm-hmm. Well, how you conducted your company,
Yeah, that's what I wanted
it was
to talk
kind of
about.
Yeah. So you ran your company the way that you would want to be treated, like you want to be treated in business, how you treat your employees. I mean, we've always, Allen Flavors, even as it's grown, I mean, now it's over 30 years old, it still has that family feel because it was started by a family and it still has that family environment. And that's always been so important to you. mean, until the company got so big, every party was held at your house. You did all the cooking, you baked all the food. We bought presents for the Christmas parties.
Okay, so what I wanted to get into, I'm sorry, it was so hard for me to transition into it, but it's not only the environment that you're spending your day in. Mm-hmm. I wanted my company to be what I wanted.
Yes.
Because I had worked for other companies, I saw what I didn't like.
Yes.
And then when Joey and I started our company, I wanted to create an environment for my employees that I would have wanted to work in. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I wanted fairness for women. I wanted them to be paid appropriately, according to what their skills were, not that they're underpaid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And we've, to circle back to women, and I'll do things where, I've had on the podcast before, we've had the topic about how I love to celebrate women in business, or why, a lot of times it'll be called out, a women-owned business. And it's like, why is that so, like, why do we have to call that out, women in business? And I felt like there were some women that were like, yeah, well, we're just equal. And why does it have to be, I'm a great businesswoman, I'm just a great business person? And it's like, no, I personally feel that women should be celebrated. They do take on a lot of roles. And this is not to put any men down, but I'm speaking about what women do, and women do take on a lot. They take on a lot of roles, running their homes, being the mothers of their children, and it's like when you have a full-time job or a career, and then you also are raising a family, I mean, you're managing a lot, and then taking care of yourself and your home and your relationship, and, it's a lot to juggle. And unfortunately, I mean, not everybody's amazing at it. Sometimes, marriages can get into hot water, or a mother can feel that mother guilt if she's putting too much into her career, or then she suffers that she's, not balancing her work life and her home life. It is a juggle. So I do feel that women should be celebrated for taking on so much.
Yes. Well,
and the women have to not only get their kids to school, but then somehow also show up at a job early in the morning, and everybody has to be ready and out the door. And then and if the school calls and your kid is sick or whatever, it's usually the mom that's called.
Right.
That's the way it is.
She gets home and she's usually the one making dinner and
getting the groceries and doing the laundry and figuring it out. And look, even if you make a salary that you can afford help, you're still managing the help and telling them what to do and ask, at whatever level your career is at. I mean, different women, and every position is so important. And it's like, even if you're not an executive or whatever, it's like your position, no matter where you are, is important to that company. But then your position at home is important to your home. Yes. And then your position as, in whatever relationship you're in on a personal level. I mean, it's very important to nurture that relationship too. So a lot of times.
Yeah, we have a lot on our plate.
Yeah. And then taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I know I did when I started the company, even now, I mean, it's as a woman, you are responsible, like you're saying, Dana, for a lot.
Yeah.
So, yes, we celebrate all of you women.
Yeah. For giving it your all and trying your best, and knowing that life is not perfect. You're not going to be perfect. But, I mean, as long as you keep showing up and giving it, your efforts. And you know what? It's also okay to sometimes just take a day and give yourself grace, because I have to do that very often. I get overwhelmed, overworked, and I just feel like I'm burning it at both ends. A lot of women have high expectations of themselves, and, we're expected to wear high heels and do all the, the painful things. I'm like, why did men have to wear high heels? Like, and why were we invented to do some of these ridiculous things? To wax our eyebrows and do all these like what painful thing does a man have to do to keep up with himself? I always think all that
all right, what
ridiculousness.
Other questions were you going to ask us?
Well, we were talking about the fact that Alan we're very proud of the inclusivity.
Yes.
And in your hiring, what are your thoughts behind that? I know you're very proud of how diverse Allen Flavors is.
Yeah, Allen Flavors, first of all, Natalie does a terrific job in human resource. We obviously have no discrimination,
Right.
issues ever. And the one thing that I believe, inclusivity, yes, I want to include women of all color, women of all religions, whatever your sexual orientation, that's fine. Because I'm running a company, I want best person for the job.
Yes.
So I have to say that.
Right.
So I think, inclusivity, it allows us to, if you're qualified, we'll include you.
Right. It's the best candidate for the job. If you have 3 people apply for a position and, there is a person, there are 3 different colors, you're not deciding according to their color or their religion or their sexual preference. No. You're deciding, what does their resume look like? Are they a good fit for the job? What's their experience? How do they interview? There's so much more to it, and it's going to be the best candidate. It's not going to be whether they're, gender or their personality or their race or anything. I mean, that's the same with devotion. I mean,
but I think as we look around, in all areas of our lives today, women are included in.
Absolutely.
Women of all types are included.
Yes.
Or I should say represented.
Yes. So, everywhere, in every area
that's
of the
nice
company.
To see now.
Yep. If a person fits, that's what they do. Heck, I now have a woman driving the forklift over at Devotion. It's like, and it's not that I was looking for a woman, but she came in and she fits for the job, and great. Now she's in my warehouse and she's an amazing person for the job. I wasn't looking for.
Right. You didn't look for a man.
No, she came in, she applied, she's fantastic, and she's
who had her skill set, so.
And she's very well qualified, so she got the job.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how we feel about that.
Yes. Now,
so to inspire inclusivity, that's the theme Natalie said for this year.
Yes.
So, yes, we would love to be inclusive.
And we are.
And we are.
And we are.
We're proud to be.
Yeah. It's always been that way, though, from when I was younger. Yeah. I mean, we've tons of different ethnic backgrounds and religions. And I mean, I grew up seeing it was never.
Right. Well, I'm proud that the company's like that.
Me too. I think it's great. And it's proven. I mean, look where the company's been. It's like everybody chosen for their positions.
Right.
Have been
and I
amazing.
think it's a harmonious group.
Mm-hmm.
People love to work there. Seem very happy.
Yeah. And the fun thing about when you do have different people from different cultures we grew up with a ton of Portuguese people working for the company, which we got introduced to all different types of foods that we thought it was with the fish
wine
and wine and pastries and all kinds of, they bring all the different stuff to the parties. Everybody would bring their different food items and it was a great time.
Right.
So, all right. Well, is there anything else you want to say to the women of Allen Flavors?
You have a wonderful day, and thank you all for all your dedicated work at Allen Flavors. You are appreciated, each and every one of you.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to coming there in the spring and meeting you in person.
Me too. We'll make our rounds. Thank you for being on the show today, Mom. And is there anything else you want to talk about?
Thanks for helping me out, Dane.
You're very welcome.
When I get tongue-tied.
That's okay.
Dana's a better speaker.
That's okay, yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. This was just a shorter episode. And seriously, happy International Women's Day to everyone out there. I know we have a lot of really interesting female woman listeners, all different walks of life who buy from Devotion or devoted customers and who listen to the podcast. And I just want you to know that I do appreciate you all. And I wish you a happy International Women's Day. So thanks for joining in to another episode of Until It's Done, a Devoted podcast.